So the next program, what we'll be doing is we can write a program where we will utilize um, like where we'll take a word, and from that word we will try to find out what is the frequency of that characters which are present in that word. So for example, it's basically like write a program to provide frequency of characters, right? So what does this frequency of characters mean? So let's say we have a string now, or like a word, or let's say my word is equal to like apple. So looking at this word, right, which is my input word, what I need to say is for every alphabet which is present in this word, A, its count is 1, then P, its count is 2, then L, its count is 1, and then E, its count is 1. So whenever we get any random word from the user here, we should provide the frequency of every alphabet which is present inside that word. So that is what the program is, and we need to write a program for it. So as per our like regular normal structure of program, what we'll do is we'll write a function declaration, define, and then a function name like frequency of chars, and inside this we need to pass a list of parameters. Now here also we'll just need a single variable because we are just passing a single word. So I can say that name as like word only, like variable name as word, which is more understandable. Then followed by a colon, and then some spaces where we'll write the logic. But before that, we'll declare the word, and here we can take it directly from the console, like enter a word. Now here, remember, we are not using that int function because by default, this input gives us a string, and we want is a string only, not a number. So we'll not utilize that int function for this input. And the next line is we'll just call this function, which is frequency of characters and word. So this is how the structure of our program is created. Now remains is the logic for it. Like how do we come up with a logic for calculating the frequency of these numbers? Now, if you look closely here as part of this output, right, you can see even though your word, which is this apple, it's like a single word, and we are getting a frequency in like a different format, right? Like A and its count, P and its count, L and E as count. So look at this. What we understand is we can utilize dictionary for storing these counts. And in that dictionary, for every key, it would be the alphabet, which is like on the left hand side, whatever we are seeing is the alphabets. And my values would be my counts, like whatever is the count of that character which is present in the word. So we'll be basically using a dictionary, which will be an empty dictionary to store all these values. So how we can do is this, like logic here would be, I can take a dictionary, which is like an empty one. Like this, we declare a dictionary like with curly brackets and nothing inside it means empty. And my word was like apple, which is in like single quotes. So what I need to do is I need to write a for loop where I'll go through every character within it. Like first I'll pick A from it, then I will pick P and on it, then I will pick again P from it, then L and E, which means I'm picking a single character out of that word and trying to identify if that word is occurred first, or it's like a first time word. So if it's a first time, what we'll do is we'll add that word into this dictionary, and its default value would be like 0 or like 1, not 0, because it's occurred. So what I can say is, like, for my character which is ch in word, what I am doing is if ch in dictionary. So what it's taking is for ch in word. Now for ch is nothing but character. Ch is like a is user defined number, like a variable. So it can be anything. So for just for our understanding, I'm writing ch. We can give any variable like ij. For us, I'm giving like for every character in word, then I'm checking if my character is in dictionary. My dictionary is empty, right? So since C is not present, what I'll do is I will add that character inside my dictionary. Now, how do I add is dictionary of ch equal to 1. Now, why I did 1 here is because since is not in dictionary, if ch is not in dictionary, right? Because character is not in dictionary because my dictionary is empty. So if it is not in dictionary, that means I'm adding that character for the first time. And since it is first time, I will add that character inside a dictionary in this structure. Now we have covered this structure, how to add a variable in a dictionary. Now to add a variable in dictionary, we give is the dictionary name, and in square brackets, we provide is the variable and its value. So this variable inside the square brackets is nothing but your key, and on the right hand side, it is your value. So this is how we store. Now, why we are giving 1 is because it was not present in our dictionary. That's why we're giving it 1 by default, because first time you got it, so its value is going to be 1. But what if the character is second time, right? So we should have a else loop for it. So P, right? Now P is occurred first time. So what will happen is dictionary of P equal to 1, which is the first time. Now next time we will get is another P using this for loop. Now P is not in ch. This will be false, right? Because P is present in my dictionary. Now P is occurring second time, so P is present in the dictionary. So this if condition which I have selected is false, so my else loop will be executed. So in else loop, what I need to do is increment the counter from original, which is 1, to +1. So how do I increment this? Dictionary of ch plus equal to 1, which is the shorter form which we understood. So it's nothing but like this one, dictionary of ch plus 1. So the enlarged form is this, and the shorter form is plus equal to 1. So what will this do is, else will do is, if any character is occurring for second time or third time or fourth time, then it will increment your counter. Increment your counter means it will increment the values which are present on the right hand side. So that you will have is only a single record for every unique word or character and its value. So if I just copy this whole concept here inside my function, I don't need this word because I'm taking it as part of this. Now if you see this for loop, right, it is not indented. So we'll select this and we'll indent it. So by indenting, it will take this for loop inside our function. So now this whole part is part of our function, and this is our input. So once the for loop is completed, I should do is print frequency of characters as dictionary. Now if I just comment this logic and run it. Let's see if it's working or not first time. So it's asking me enter a word. So I'll say apple, or let's give a space and enter. So now why the space is taken is okay. Let's run it again. APLE. Now for now, just ignore that space which I gave, but just consider this as apple. And if I run it, I will give frequency of character is A, its frequency is 1, P is frequency is 2. And why we got this 2 is because of this else loop. Now since P is occurring twice, its original value was 1 for the first time, and then second time P got, we incremented it by 1 using this plus 1. And then L is once and E is also occurring once. So this is how we are counting the frequency of every character within your string. And the logic was to utilize a dictionary, where in that dictionary we will store key and value pair, and that value was nothing but your frequency, and key was nothing but your unique character which is present. So now let's say I take another word like oranges. Here everything's character is every character's frequency is 1, because in this word oranges we have is just like a unique character, and there is no like a duplicate character present in it. So this is how the frequency of every word is stored in the dictionary. Now the only last part here is, why do we need to give it without spaces here? Like when we execute, right? Now if I give this space here, or like any multiple space, and I just write apple here, and if I execute, this space which I've selected is also considered as a text, and that's why that text is pushed into your dictionary. So if I run it, you'll see like that blank character is occurring thrice, so which is like 3 spaces. So that 3 space is considered here, which looks wrong, right? Like because we need to consider is only word but not these spaces. Now resolution for this is, this word which is captured over here is taking is from this point to this point, the selected part. So that whole selected part is considered as an apple, which includes like 3 blank spaces, but we don't need it. So what we'll do is we'll utilize a inbuilt function called as trim, and inside that trim function, we will undefined name trim, okay, or trim. Why the trim is not showing up here is trim of word. L trim. I think this Python version over here is not accepting that, or let me check how to get that trim thing out of it in this version. Okay, so it's not trim, but it's strip function. So what this strip function will do is it will remove any blank spaces which we have in our word. Now, since we had like 3 characters of blank spaces, it will remove all of it. And how it will remove is it will remove only from the start part as well as from the end part, so that whatever the consolidated word we have is only taken as part of our input. So if I execute now, let's see if it's working or not. What is wrong here? Invalid. Okay, so it's because of this close thing. Strip function is not defined. Okay, so this need is a package called as Why is there package calling? Let's check. Okay. The other way we can do is we got that word including the space. Now we'll do word equal to word dot strip. And now I think it should work. Yeah. So now if we give apple, it is doing this. So what it happened here is when we take that word input, enter a word, it is taking this whole string, including the spaces, whatever I've selected, right? And in these blank spaces, this whole word is stored here in this one. Now in line number 19, what we're doing is word equal to word dot strip. Now this strip is an inbuilt function by Python, and what it does is it removes any kind of blank spaces we have as part of the start as well as at the end. So what we get is this consolidated word, which is apple, and that's how it is stored. Now, how do we check if that's working or not? So we can do is your print statement. Like after we capture the word, we can do is word, and we can say like word with spaces. And after that function works, what after that strip function works, what we can write is word without spaces, so that we understand how that strip function is working. If I run now, and if I give any spaces, so word with spaces was including these spaces, like the additional spaces which we gave as part of this. And then word without spaces removed all the extra spaces. And then that's why our output is showing only for the characters and not the spaces. So this is how we can utilize that strip function. Now that was just like an optional thing, this thing which we learned, but it's like a good to know for us. So this completes our next program. Like we got a word, like any word, and we try to count the frequency of it. And for calculating that frequency, we utilize this like three main core concepts which we learned earlier. One was the dictionary, how to utilize that dictionary, like how to add any element inside this dictionary, and we add it like this format. And if you want to update any value inside a dictionary, we can update it in this way. And then we utilize this two type of loops. The one was called as for loop, where it is for followed by an object name, which is a variable ch in word. Now word is our this word, which is a string, and ch will do is it will go through each and every character. And whenever we got a character, we are using an if loop, which is the second type of loop. And in that if loop, we gave is this condition, where that condition was like try to check if that character is occurring for the first time or is it occurring for the second time. And if it's occurring for the first time, then we will add it directly into the dictionary with the default counter value as 1. And if it's occurring for the second time, then this condition is failing, and that's why we are jumping to else, where this counter of that character is incremented by 1. And then finally, after this for loop completes, our print statement is executed, which will let us know what is the frequency of it. So this is how we calculate all the frequency. So I will just store this program in our notes.
Guys, so just one thing I would like to tell you, like whenever you are getting the aim of the program, so immediately you should get it in your mind that, array, what to think it, like in this program, whether I want to use any sort of a dictionary or whether I want to use it a set, like that. So in this way, you should start thinking it. Then only you will be becoming a good programmer. Getting it?
Yes, correct. So whenever we
Yes,
get a
sir.
program, programming is not more difficult. The more difficult part of it is how to come up with this type of logic, and like how
Yeah.
and most of the time it's always going to be like the things which you have learned until now, and what type of data
Mm.
structure you want to use. Now that data structure can be either one of the three things which we learned, or four things. Like it can be either a list or a dictionary or a set or a tuple. Like either these four type of data structure you want to use, and then how do you loop it, like this looping mechanism. Like do you want to use like if loop or like a for loop, and then there can be a combinations also. So once you know how to process it like on the fly, like this word is there, like, and you want to calculate its frequency, and if you just on like a rough board, if you know like how to do that, like how should be like step by step performance done, like calculation done, then we can come up with this code, like how to write that code of the logic. So yeah, like logic is the core part, and then writing is the another core part of programming.
Yeah, so never ever by heart the codings, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
So now what we can do is the next one. Mm, let me think of another program. Let's say we have a word and we want to reverse that word. So right now, what we learned now was given a number, we reverse that number using mathematical operation like modulo, division, and multiplication operators. But what if we get a word and we want to reverse that word? So how do we do that reversing of word? So we need to write a program to reverse a word. Now my word can be again here like same apple. So my reversed word should be SELPPA. So this is how your reversing of word should happen. Now the previously learned program will not work here, right? Because we have his characters and the previous program was just for numbers. So this way we cannot reverse the word. So how do we reverse that word? For this, we will have to use this a different concept now, which is called as like concatenation of words. Where what I will do is let's write the structure like reverse word, and I need is input of only word, which is a single word. My logic, then my word equal to, let's say, apples. Then I can copy this word. Okay. So this creates the structure of a program. Now, how do we write the logic internally? So first part I will show like in this program, what we are doing is we're taking this word and we are passing this word in this function. Now, since we are passing that word in that function, I will show you. First thing is how to get a output variable, which is like this one. So output, right? So I can declare is output equal to empty string. Now this is how we created an empty string. And in this empty string, we will do is the reverse addition, like reverse this words and we'll add the characters inside it into this output one by one. So in order to put all the characters into it, we can do is for I in range length of word. So here I'm using is the range concept, and range concept what we learned was it needs is two parameters or like three parameters, or it can take one parameter also. So if it is only one parameter, that indicates my start is always going to be 0 comma length of word. So 0 is my start and length of word. Now what is this length of word? Length of word will calculate, take this word and calculate how many characters are in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it is going to go from 0 to 6. So my start is 0 and end is 6. So why I'm using this positioning like numbers, right? 0 to 6 is because for every character we have its index. Now character A's index is 0. Character P's index is 1. The second P's index is 2. L's index is 3 and so on. So what we'll do is we'll go to the last index of this. We'll pick that index and add it over here. Now picking that index means is I'll go to that index of S. I'll pick this character S and add it over here. And once I add, then I will move back to this character which is E, pick it, and then again I will add it over here to my existing output and so on. So usually I loop from end to the start. So how do I loop is from end, right? So my end is 6 and start is length minus or length of word. And let's see how it works. Now, if you have any confusion like what should be my start and end, I should do is print I. And if I do print I will get the numbers, right? If I execute it, I'm getting is numbers. Now, why we are not getting the print one over here is for I in range 6 to length of word. Okay, 0 to length of word. It's giving from 0 to start. Okay, because start was this. Okay, so length of word should be my start and end should be 0. Length of word should be my start and should be 0 and then okay. And by default, okay, so this is how the range should be. Now, why I gave this -1 is if we don't give this -1, by default, this range is doing is +1, that is +1. But we want to go is the reverse way, like from 6 to 1. And for that reason, I've given my start as the 6, which is the length of these characters 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the length of the word, and end is 0, and it should step down by 1. So that's how I'm getting these numbers. Now, if you look, I don't need to start from 6, I need to start is from 5 because indexing starts from 0 and end by 5. So index of A is 0, P is 1, next P is 2, L is 3, E is 4, and S is 5. But we are getting is from 6. So what we can do is length of word -1 to 0. And if I run it, I'm getting 5 to 1. Now here I'm getting is just the iterator, which is I, but I want is the exact character. Now how do I get is character? So for getting that character, I can do is word of I. And if I run this, I'm getting all the words. Now here I'm missing the A because it was just going until 1 but not until 0. So if I do is -1 here, one more down, it should take me bottom. So now if you see this sequentially, we are going from end, which is S, to A. And if you read it reverse way, it is apples. Now we have got the word. Now the next thing what we need to do is just need to add that word every time to your output. So how do we add is out equal to out plus word of I. And if I comment this because I don't need to show this, and lastly I will do is print out. And if I run it, I should see the output. Now, why I'm seeing this output internally as a big is because internally within this for loop, I'm printing. If I commit out, I'll see the reverse of the word. So this is how the reversing is working for a word, and which is like a shorter form compared to the mathematical form which we learned. So here what we learned was regarding for loop and using that range functionality, which is this range functionality. And what does that range was telling us? It needs to the most three parameters. First parameter is the start, then the end parameter, which is the second one, and the step parameter. Step is the increment or decrement operator. Now range is, we started with length of word -1 was because indexing of any word starts from 0. Now since the length was 6, the end index of s was 5. So that's why we take length of word -1. That is 6 minus 1 is 5. And then it will go only until 0 because it won't go until this -1. So what it did was 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 and 0. It didn't went to this -1. That's why we did. But if we give just like 0 here, the range will go until 1 but not 0. So that's why we are giving is -1. And then how do you want to decrement? We want to decrement every time by -1. That's why we did is -1. So if this is little confusing, what you can always do is print I, so that we know like how that indexes are running 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So that is 5 is for S, 4 is for E, 3 is for L, P is 2, then next P is 1, and then 0 is A. So this is how we know like these are the indexes, and the index character is at word of I, and then out equal to out plus word of I. Now this is basically like an addition itself. But since we have his characters, it is doing is appending each and every character out of it. So it's basically like out equal to out plus word of I will do is concatenation of every character to your original word. Now the short form for this is out equal to plus equal to word of I, which we learned in the operators. So this is how it works. But for our understanding, we just give it in a bigger format. So this way we can reverse a word. Any question with this? If
No,
there
sir.
are, okay. So what I can do is I can give you one homework problem now, which you can take it as an like assignment, and you can get it ready by like next session or like whenever you have time, like try to do it as soon as possible. So what I want you to do is write a program to count frequency of numbers in a list. So now this program is similar to the program which we did. Like we had a word called as apples and we did as count of every character and we stored it in a dictionary. I want you to take a list as an input, which is this list called as like my list. And inside this, you have his characters like A, P, P, L, E, and S. So this is like a list which stores these characters. And as part of your output, you should get is like the same way in the dictionary we got, like your A's frequency was 1, then P's frequency was 2, L frequency was 1, then E is 1, and S is also 1. So this is your input, and this should be your output. So write a program for it as part of your homework to take this as input and get an output like this. Now you can refer the program which we did. It's almost like similar to it. The only difference is instead of using a word, you have to loop over a list. That's the only thing. And how do we loop over a list? We have covered in a previous lecture, like to utilize that for loop to loop over a list. So this you can take as your homework problem.
Okay, so WhatsApp me, guys. Okay, do complete your assignment and you can WhatsApp me.
Okay, okay.
Okay, fine. So we can then wind up then.
Okay.
I
So
guess
that's
hardly
all for
2 minutes
today.
are remaining, no?
Yeah, like only 2 minutes are remaining. Then the session will go off again. So yeah, that's all for
Yeah.
today. And then in the next session, we'll continue forward with like more programs. And then if you get chance to work on the homework problem, then we can discuss that if you have any kind of doubts.
No, no, they will definitely try it.
Okay.
You have to do it, guys.
Okay, okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. See you next
Yeah.
time.
So yes, yes. Same timing tomorrow.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah. Bye bye.